Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss quadrilaterals. And what are quadrilaterals, you might ask? Well, it's a good question. Quadrilaterals are simply a four-sided polygon. There are 5 major types of quadrilaterals that you need to know about, all of which we will discuss today. The first one, however, is one that is well known. It's seen in many places, and it's probably the easiest four-sided figure to spot. I'll give you a minute to think about it. See if you can guess which quadrilateral I am talking about. Alright, now that you've had time to think, what do you think it is? Exactly, a square. A square has 4 equal sides, 4 equal angles, and 2 sets of parallel sides. Now, what I mean by 2 sets of parallel sides, these 2 sides are parallel, and these 2 sides are parallel. Okay? And then all 4 sides are equal. Now, when I was talking about the square having 4 equal angles, each of those angles in that square are what we call right angles. And right angles is if you make, your hands like this, straight down, straight across, that's a right angle. It ends up forming perpendicular lines. Okay? And also, right angles are 90 degrees. Now, let's take a minute to stop and think about a square. Okay? I'm going to show you a picture of a square, and you think of a few things that you see in your everyday life that might be the shape of a square. I'm going to give you just a minute. Now that you've had time to look at a square and think about things that may be a square in real life, I want you to take a minute and discuss with your classmates. But before you do that, I've come up with a few things that I personally thought were squares in my everyday life. My kitchen floor has tile on it. Those are squares. Your handy-dandy post-it note, that's definitely a square. And my washcloths in my bathroom that I wash my face off with at night are definitely squares. Welcome back. I'm sure you had a wonderful discussion about squares. Now it's time to move on to a second quadrilateral, one which is seen everywhere. I mean, it is everywhere in our everyday lives. It's similar to a square in the fact that it has 4 right angles, but it does not have 4 equal sides. I'll give you a minute just to guess to see what it is. Have you figured it out? Yes, rectangle, very good. A rectangle is very similar to a square, but different in one way. Your rectangle and square both have 4 equal angles, all of which are right angles. And they both have 2 sets of parallel sides. The top and bottom are parallel, and the sides are parallel. Okay, but now a rectangle doesn't have 4 equal sides like a square. The top and bottom are usually the same length, and the sides are the same length. Okay? I want you to take a minute to see if you can think of a few things that are rectangles in your everyday life. hopefully that gave you time to think about some things in your everyday life that are rectangles. And I can think of a bunch personally. Cell phones, iPods, checkbooks, this picture frame here behind me, a door, your computer screen. There are thousands and millions of things that could be considered a rectangle. Okay, I could go on for days picking out things that are shaped like rectangles, but I want you to tell me once again, what is the difference between a square and a rectangle? Exactly. A square has 4 equal sides and a rectangle has 2 sets of equal sides. The top and bottom are equal and the sides are equal. Alright, so I want you to take just a few more seconds to discuss with your classmates once again about rectangles and where you could find them and their properties. Hope you and your classmates had a wonderful discussion about rectangles, but now it is time to move on to our third quadrilateral, which is one that is very similar to a square as well, but this one's sort of like you take a square and you just kind of tilt it over to one side. Can you tell me what quadrilateral I am describing? Exactly, a rhombus. A rhombus has 4 equal sides. However, unlike a square, the rhombus does not have 4 right angles. But it does have 2 sets of parallel sides. Okay, the sides that are opposite of each other. You know, your tops and bottom, and then your sides are kind of like that. How many things can you think of that look like a rhombus? Me personally, I can't think of many things. I know maybe some things, maybe like a necklace pendant, maybe, or something of the sort. Rhombi, they aren't very prevalent in the real world setting, but they do exist and they are very important for you to know about. Now, I want you to take some time to think right now if maybe, hopefully, you can figure out something that is a rhombus. Hopefully you and your classmates had enough time to figure out maybe 1 or 2 things that were in the shape of a rhombus. Now our fourth quadrilateral is one that is similar to a rectangle, but is similar to a rhombus too. It's kind of tilted over to one side, but it's not like the square, it's like the rectangle tilted over to one side. Can you tell me which quadrilateral I am describing? Absolutely, you guys are so smart. It's a parallelogram. Like a rhombus, the parallelogram's not very prevalent in the real world setting. You know, you don't see it very often, but they are a type of quadrilateral, and they're very important. A parallelogram has 2 sets of parallel sides. You know, your sides are parallel, and then your tops and bottom are parallel, just like a rhombus. And it has, just like the rectangle, it has 2 sets of equal sides. Your sides are equal, and your top and bottom are equal. I want you guys to take just a minute to think as a class of something in your life that you have seen before that is a parallelogram. Now do this as a class because it's hard, like the rhombus, but I'm going to give you just a minute. Hopefully you all had a wonderful discussion as a class as to what a parallelogram is, and maybe you figured out some that you've seen in your everyday lives. But now it is time to move on to our 5th and final quadrilateral. And this quadrilateral is completely different from all the others we've talked about, because this one has only one set of parallel sides, one set of equal sides. Can you think what it is? I'll give you just a minute. Bingo, a trapezoid. I think this is my favorite quadrilateral just because it's so different from all the others. A trapezoid has no right angles, and it usually has one set of equal sides and one set of parallel sides. Now your equal sides, you're usually the sides, or your parallel sides are usually your top and bottom. It's a great figure. I want to give you just a minute with your classmates, because this one's kind of hard, to think about some things that you've seen in your daily lives that may be in the shape of a trapezoid. Hopefully you all were able to figure out some shapes that you see in your everyday life that were trapezoids. Me personally, I was able to think of one. I have a table in my classroom that is in the shape of a trapezoid. But that is all 5 quadrilaterals, and hopefully you don't have any questions, but if you do, hopefully I'll answer them here. Just a quick recap here. Now, we talked about a square. It has 4 equal sides, 4 equal angles, and 2 sets of parallel sides, meaning the sides that are opposite of each other. Alright, a rectangle has 4 equal angles, all of which are right angles, and 2 sets of parallel sides. Sides and top and bottom. A rhombus has 4 equal sides. However, unlike a square, the rhombus doesn't have 4 right angles, but it does, like a square and rectangle, have 2 sets of parallel sides, the ones that are actually opposite of each other, tops and bottom and the sides. Parallelogram, just like a rhombus, it's just kind of like a rhombus, kind of stretched out. It has 2 sets of parallel sides, the sides, and then the tops and bottoms, and the sides are also equal, and the tops and bottom are also equal. And your last one, my favorite, a trapezoid, has no right angles and sometimes has 1 set of equal sides and sometimes has 1 set of parallel sides. So that is all for quadrilaterals. I hope you all enjoyed it and hope you all got a little bit out of it. Thank you.